Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Let's Talk About It with Superintendent Kraatz. Today, I am excited to include our Saginaw Township Community Schools curriculum director and state and federal programs coordinator, Jamie Hales. Hi, Jamie.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. This is really important to us to really make sure that our community really understands what Saginaw Township does. When we talk about curriculum specifically, and even funding to a certain extent, you play a vital role in that. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting into what is curriculum, what do we offer kids at Saginaw Township, how are we different from any other local community school in any city or town anywhere else. And in my opinion, we offer a lot of things that does set us apart. So let's start with just telling us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to pursue a career in school curriculum.
Yeah, so I joined the STCS team in December of 23, but really my partnership with the township school started long before that because I'm a mom of 2 township students. I have a son who graduated in 2024 and a daughter who is set to graduate this year. So my support and partnership with the township schools goes way back to when I first sent my babies off to their first kindergarten classroom. I was a classroom teacher and fell in love with partnering with families and students and really helping students achieve everything that they could. And so that just led a pathway to curriculum.
Nice. So you live in the township, obviously.
Yep.
So you work for the township schools, you have children, so you bring a lot of perspective to this role, and something that I really appreciate and respect when we're working together to do what we need to do to make sure our students in Saginaw Township and beyond are have a good experience and are educated. So what exactly does a curriculum director do? I think that we take for granted that people know what that is.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I kind of chuckle because every time I get to go into classrooms and talk to kids, I always, ask them, so everyone here knows what a director of curriculum does, right? And they always nod and smile, and nobody knows. But I always like to explain it as, no offense to you, but I feel like I have the best job ever because I get to partner with teachers and administrators, and we get to really have those deep conversations about what we want for our students and what we really hope for our families and our community. And then we get to really set that roadmap for how we're going to achieve that and what that's going to look like. And we get to celebrate all of the successes, the small ones, the big ones, and we get to really, course correct when we need to. So it's just those deep conversations about how to help and support students and working alongside teachers and principals. It really is a wonderful job.
Yeah, and a lot of planning goes into that because not only are you working with the adults in the district on what's going to be delivered to the students in the classroom, but you're also planning around, how are you going to make sure that they feel confident in a new program or a new strategy or something like that. So when we talk about PD, that's professional development, you're doing a lot of planning around that. And that's also where funding comes in because those things, obviously those require resources and, if we're bringing somebody in to help train teachers and things. So there's a lot of moving parts to your department and to the work you do.
And there is. And the other piece of that, too, is making sure that I'm that liaison between the information coming from the state down to our schools and just making sure that we're filtering that and communicating that out to our teachers so everyone is aware of what's going on and, at the state level and the federal level, too.
And that's a big job just because of the sheer size of our district. We have approximately 750 employees and 4,600-ish students. And so making sure that everybody gets a clear communication and knows who to go to when they have questions or need extra support. So, it's a lot. And you do a really good job with it. We're very lucky to have you at Saginaw Township. So one of the things we talk about at Saginaw Township is this idea of every student every day. And I am if we're having a conversation, if I'm sending out a communication, if we're doing a training, at some point we're going to talk about every student every day. When it comes to curriculum and every student every day, what does that mean to you in your role?
Yeah, and I go back to where my partnership with the township schools began as a parent. And I remember, like it was yesterday, sending, my baby off to kindergarten and just really hoping that the teacher, saw all the wonderful things that we saw and really had, hopes and expectations for them when I sent them off. And to me, that's what every student every day means, is we do see our students. We do understand what it's like, and we take that responsibility. So, and I've heard you say this so seriously, that we are with our families and their kids every single day, and that is important to us.
Well, and I think that that's something that, that we can't talk about that enough. When you think about it, when you think about schools, parents are trusting us with their children. They're dropping them off, or either taking them to the bus stop, or they're dropping them off at school, and then they're trusting us to do what's right for their child all day long until the end of the day, when they either get off the bus or they come and pick them up. That is a huge responsibility, one that I feel incredibly blessed to have, but that we take very seriously. So I agree. That's something we talk about a lot. So, well, in terms of curriculum, what does STCS offer? Because one of the things that I also say a lot is, in every community, there's a school. And every school follows standards, and they follow specific programs that might lead to the curriculum that they. How are we different from them? I believe we are. I believe we offer things to kids that nobody around here is going to offer to children. What are your thoughts on that? What do we offer children of Saginaw Township as far as academics and curriculum?
Yeah, and when we talk about curriculum, I think sometimes we think about the resource that we offer, but it encompasses so much more than that. It's the way that we teach. It's the instructional practices that we have. It's the way that we look at our students and the opportunities that we offer them on a daily basis. So it's the main core classes, but it's all those other experiences that we know are so important to success for whatever our students choose to do when they leave us. So it could be the exploratories. I can walk into a number of houses around the township and pick out, the table or the stool that our students made in a woodworking class at the high school or middle school. I can, walk around the mall and see the artwork that's displayed because our students have those opportunities.
Yeah.
The medals that are displayed around the school that our own students have designed and that we've hung up. In addition to, I was, talking to my daughter about a podcast, and I was a little bit nervous to come on here and what this was going to be like. And she was telling me about the podcast that she made in her English class with her friends. So it's all those opportunities that we offer that go beyond what maybe I remember as a student that I didn't realize was part of the curriculum.
So when we talk about reading, writing, arithmetic, where are we at in Saginaw Township, and what are we working towards? What are we offering kids? You talked about in an English class doing a podcast. 10 years ago, that didn't even exist. That wasn't happening. So how is that evolving, and how are we trying to make sure that we're offering our kids whatever they need to go out into today's world, but also continue evolving, because things are changing, especially when it comes to technology, so quickly. What about those core classes?
Yeah, and that's where we look at, really, our teachers are the masters and the experts in this. And that's where professional development, you talked about that a little bit earlier, really comes into making sure that, yes, the standards, that's our destination, but our curriculum is the roadmap of how we're going to get there, and those little opportunities that we offer along the way. So whether it is pulling in technology or the hands-on experiences, the
Project-based, place-based learning.
The opportunities for our students to be able to have conversations and ask questions and not just memorize the content, but take that content and apply it to their life and the world around them. Go home and have the conversations with their families. I mean, it's really cool when you get to sit at the table and have a conversation with your family and you feel like, oh, I know something. Like I'm sharing something to the conversation. And all that happens with our teachers giving those opportunities to our students.
Well, one of the things that we hear a lot about is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so we've done a lot of work in those areas. A lot of times that's also, you see a lot of creativity, a lot of critical thinking, a lot of problem solving, all things that we want our kids to go out into the world. Talk a little bit about what we're doing around some of those STEM opportunities. And let's not forget what we're doing with esports.
Yes. So the STEM opportunities, this has really been something that kind of started in like small little pockets throughout the district, even before I came, and that has grown through word of mouth and excitement. And at the start ish of
Yeah.
this school year, we will have creativity rooms or STEM rooms in every single elementary building where kids can go in with their teachers and explore in a structured unstructured type
Right.
of manner where there's a task that we're trying to accomplish, but really letting students drive that and using their own thought process and their conversations and their discovery to really get there. And then you mentioned the esports. We are starting an esports class at our high school this year, which is really exciting. Not only for our students who get to be a part of that class, but there are so many opportunities after high school
Yeah.
in that realm. And it's not sitting around and playing video games, which is,
Right.
I think, kind of some of that misconception out there. But there's so much you can do in that class as far as responsibility, when you're online and what it means to engage with somebody online and through a game, and what it means to have the healthy boundaries and responsibilities in addition to the esports course and curriculum itself. So just really taking what's happening around the world and knowing that we're preparing kids for opportunities after high school that aren't even developed yet.
Yeah, a lot of research around that there's so
Yes.
many jobs out there that haven't even been created yet. It's because that is how quickly the world is evolving around this, around what we offer in technology and things. That is fascinating to me. That's hard to wrap your head around, really. So we're really trying to give kids a skill set so that they can go out and adapt that skill set to what the world needs or the community needs at that time. And that's something that we've been pretty passionate about at Saginaw Township. So, but also, I also hear this little bit of a criticism. Every once in a while, I'll read an article, I'll read some comments online or something, and it talks about, well, are we going too far with technology? And I know you have a very strong opinion about, but we also have to have a balance with paper pencil. Just tell me a little bit about that, because I think that's important. And that is, I think we've talked so much about technology that people are wondering if that's all we're doing.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and it is something that I'm very passionate about because technology is such a tool, and it's a tool. It's not a replacement. And just like with all things, you have to have that balance. And there is so much value in having your hands on text and being able to read a book and kind of feel what that's like.
Yeah.
But there's also tools that we can't deny our students that
Exactly.
are available online, support and just ways for our students to even take their learning further. So we really have to find that balance,
Yeah.
and those are conversations
And
that
we're really
having.
intentional about talking about that balance. What is that balance that does create a student for the real world once they graduate, so that they have a skill set that is adaptable to whatever opportunity comes across their path. So we really are intentional about that. We spend a lot of time talking about that because I think that's where we're at in the world right now. And, in my opinion, that's kind of where we're at with some of this stuff. So, yeah.
And I think another piece of that too is we do a really good job of bringing our students into that conversation too, and really bringing their ideas in and their opinions in about that. And they're good about sharing their opinions when you ask them about that balance and what it's like to have a computer, have an online tool, have a resource in their hand.
Right. Yeah. Well, right now we're speaking of things that are in the headlines, social media comments, and all those types of things. We're hearing a lot about student test scores lately, especially at the national level. We're hearing a lot about where the United States when we're ranking where we're falling and where Michigan is falling and all of those types of things surrounding test scores. So give an insight into test scores and determinations of success and in relation to those. Where are we at with that, and what are our conversations that we're having about that?
Yeah, so any good curriculum has, what we like to call a balanced assessment system. So you have your big state tests, those are what are published. Those are the ones where it really is one measure in time of where our students are with that grade level content. And
They're often called snapshots. Like that at the state level, that's what they'll say. Remember that this is a snapshot because it's one day, one moment in time, and it's really after the curriculum's been taught, correct?
Yeah, yep. It happens in the spring, and it's for that grade level curriculum, and that's just one piece of the data that we look at. And we do look at it, but we also look at what we call growth data and where our students started and where they're ending their school year. And so we like to look at that measure about how much growth did a student make throughout the school year, and then we can use that at the beginning of the next school year to make sure that we are meeting that child where they're at, to make sure we're giving the supports that are needed.
And above and beyond that, we call it progress monitoring. We look at that throughout the school year, and I don't know, maybe people are aware, maybe they're not, but we look at every single individual student, and we're getting better at that. We're doing more training around that. We're doing so that we can see where is a child at and what do they need to get to the next level. So we're always looking for growth. So talk a little bit about that progress monitoring piece.
Yeah, and so when we are progress monitoring, like you just said, we are really looking for that. We had a certain number of instructional days and we really get down to days, like how many days were we in front of this student, and where were they when we started? We were really intentional with what we were going to do with that student for however many days, and then where are they now, and did it work? Do we continue? Do we pivot? And those conversations are so important and are led by, again, our teachers, our administrators, our instructional coaches. So it's really a team effort as, here's our data, and then where are we going with it?
Right. And that growth piece really tells us even more than that one snapshot a lot of times because, as you said, that one snapshot, that is at grade level. So if you have a child who's 2 grade levels below, they're probably, that snapshot's going to show that. But if they started 2 grade levels below, but by the end of the year, now they're 1 grade level below, and we start off at the next year, and we're going to pick up from there, and we're going to continue growing so that we continue to close that gap until they are on grade level. That is really the measure that we're looking for, correct?
It is. Because if a child isn't at grade level, then we have to get them there. And that is where those conversations come in. And then the whole other piece that the data that we look at is our perception data, where we ask our families and we ask the community, we ask our staff, we ask our students about their perception of needs that we have moving forward. And that plays a factor into it as well.
Right. Yeah, that's a big piece of it. You hear a lot, perception is reality. So is it something that we need to adjust and change? Do we see a trend? Are we seeing a lot of people with the same perception? Is it just that we need to communicate better? So we really look for what we call the root cause, and we try to dig into that. And again, that's an evolution. We're getting better at that, and we're really focusing in on it. You get better at what you focus on. And so those are things that I know you're spending a lot of time working around how to look at data, how to use that for student growth, but always remembering at the end of that spreadsheet or that number or that test score, there's also a child. So that's always a big piece of that too.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So what role does professional development play in the success of the curriculum and curriculum implementation? We just talked about training and your focus on certain things and some of that stuff. So talk to me about professional development.
Yeah. So when I think about curriculum, I always kind of explain it to people that, the state and government gives us our standards, and that's our destination. Our curriculum is the roadmap to get us there. And then to me, professional development is that foundation of that roadmap. That's how we support our teachers in making sure that those instructional practices that we've talked about and that alignment, like you said, our district is a large district. We have 8 buildings. We have 4,500 students. So how do we make sure that we're in alignment? And it really comes down to that professional development for our teachers. Investing in our teachers is so important.
Critical.
It is critical. And when we look at what research says, teacher efficacy is so
Yeah.
important in student success. And so really making sure that we are providing the time for our teachers to come together and have conversations and ask those questions and grow together is
Right.
always going to be the bottom line of where we focus our time and energy.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit a while ago about that perception data. So that you said that includes parents, that includes community members at times, that includes our teachers, our students, our support staff. When we talk about things like that, how can parents and or the community help with curriculum in a district?
Yeah, and I kind of go back to how I started, where my partnership started when I was a parent, and I truly believe that partnering with our families and our community is so critical to our students. I mean, every student needs a support system, and our families and our community really are that support system for our students. Our teachers need a support system.
Yeah.
So whether it's coming into our schools and volunteering, we love having people come in and
Yeah.
read to our students, share their experiences, share a skill set, share a story,
Yeah.
or share our story. When
Yeah.
you are seeing our students, in public being successful and you're seeing the great things they're doing, help us share our story. Get it out there about how wonderful our students are and how wonderful our staff is. So really being that partner and asking the questions because people do have questions. Email us, call us, ask the questions, and give us an opportunity to be able to share our story with you.
Right. And that's what I think we talked about this in another episode. When people think about education, they usually fall back on what their experience was. And if you've been out of school for any number of years, it has evolved, it has changed. People would be surprised at what they experienced versus what we're working with and the environments and the opportunities and experiences that we're offering to students now is so different. So if they have a question, that's great. You can go to stcs.org to find out any of our emails or the phone numbers for curriculum or even my office. It's always great to start with the teachers. If you have questions, ask teachers about what we're doing, and in that those volunteer opportunities are really priceless. We're so thankful for anybody that can give some time to our schools, whether it's in a classroom or on a school project at the building level, something along those lines. So. Well, Jamie Hales, Curriculum Director for Saginaw Township Schools, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I actually think we could really get into a lot more with curriculum and what sets us apart. We just scratched the surface. We didn't talk about all of the range of programs that we offer, from students with special needs to gifted and talented, and that's K-12, right? So we can, if you'd be willing to come back, we'll have you back and we'll dig in a little bit more, because we really just scratched the surface on what Saginaw Township offers and how we are kind of different from what you might find in any average public school in any average community. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I would love to come back and talk about that.
Yeah, of course. Well, one of the things that we said we were going to do is we were going to end each one of our episodes with a Did You Know? And so today's Did You Know is about Arrowwood Elementary. Arrowwood Elementary used to be Chippewa Middle School. It was built in 1961, and there were some improvements done in 1967. It's not only an elementary school serving 440 students, but we also house the district's preschool program, Step by Step. The district's special services office is there, and the district's conference center is also housed at Arrowwood Elementary. Those programs, services, and spaces all allow our buildings to be a place that supports not just our students and families, but the greater district and Saginaw Township community as a whole. So Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.